Welcome back to MarkOneModels. Today, we'll be looking into another Freiburger Finnigan build, but stay tuned to the end since just when you think this build will be done, I'll have something unexpected for you. Going back to Season 2, Episode 5 of Roadkill, Freiburger had been telling Finnigan that they needed to go jeeping. While Finnigan knew he meant off-roading, he took this in a different direction and went and bought a Jeep rod. They took it from LA out to a bar in Parker, Arizona that was only available via rocky trails. While the Jeep rod was sketchy and had questionable airbag suspension, they of course broke down along the way, they completed the adventure and ended up giving it away to whomever was willing to pay their bar tab. My source kit is the AMT Hogan's Heroes 125th scale Jeep kit. It was great that it had a complete separate frame, body, and engine bay since I'd be making a variety of modifications to this to match the Jeep rod. To get it down on the ground, I needed to C-notch the back of the Jeep. I cut the floor in the back of the frame and approximated in the notch into the body. I used some sheet styrene to create the new raised floor. I also needed a wider axle so the rear wheels would be outside the fender wells, so I used an axle from my spares. The Jeep rod had white wall tires in the rear, so I got some acrylic paint to paint the white walls on since spray paint would never dry on rubber tires. The Jeep rod has an aluminum tank in the back for fuel, so I recreated that with the barrel of a pen and created the gas cap for it using a hole punch on cheap plastic. I didn't fully recreate the front suspension, but I did get it to sit correctly, both slightly forward of the fenders and wider than them, with a front two-wheel drive axle also from my parts bin. The one complication with the front axle was that I could not get these wheels to stay attached to it with just glue, so I ended up inserting pins into both the axles and the wheels with heat, and that provided the positive point, and the glue just holds them in place. The Jeep rod came with a Chevy V8, but I did not have a spare GM motor handy. So in typical Freiburger fashion, I went with don't get it right, just get it running. And I used the V8 Hemi from an old Dukes of Hazzard Dodge Charger kit that was in pieces from when I had built it as a kid. I did step it up a bit by putting in plug wires and made sure to cut a hole in the hood so the air cleaner could breathe. The hood remains functional, just like the foldable chopped windshield frame. Look and feel are pretty good to the one-to-one car. Looking at the pictures of the Roadkill Jeep rod, what's currently available for 3D printed parts, I may in the future go back and add some of the stuff the guys took along on the trip. We'll get back to the build in just a moment, but I wanted to take a moment to remind you that if you like these videos, feel free to give a like and subscribe and share with your friends. Don't forget to make sure your notifications are turned on so you won't miss an episode. You can also follow along on our Facebook, Instagram, and Threads pages, and you can find those on the links in the homepage. Now let's get back to the build. So remember at the beginning where I said you think this was done and that I have a surprise for you? Well, here you go. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my daughter had also decided to make the Jeep rod and then gotten it in 1/35th scale with her mom, and it was an Italeri kit. She'd gotten as far as getting the kit and the paint for it and some minor assembly, but then reached out for some help on the custom stuff. To have wheels and tires and suspension that looked the part, the rear axle came from the AMT Jeep kit that I had, so it would be a wider axle. I wasn't using that axle anyway since I had grabbed the wider one from mine, so it worked perfectly. The wheels were and tires were from a 1/32nd scale snap kit rabbit pickup. The hood was non-functional, so we just grabbed an air cleaner from my parts bin and glued it on top. For the fuel cell, I again went with the pen barrel, but this time I cut it in half so it would not have the height. As I had done with my kit, I created decals for hers as well, so everything from the loose nuts bumper to the stars placed throughout the body would match. Don't worry, I didn't take over this build like so many dads might do. I just supplied the parts and my daughter did all the paint, assembly, and decal application. I think both of these kits turn out great, and I think it's even cooler that we had both decided to make this kit without letting the other one know, but that we also came together in the end to complete them. Just like some parents and kids are a full-size and mini-me version, so was true with this build, in Jeep form. Since they're not very big to begin with, they even share the same display case. So that about wraps things up here. What did you think of these builds? Have you ever done any kind of a group build situation? How'd that go? As always, I'd love to hear in the comments. Thank you for watching MarkOneModels.